Greetings, viewers! I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula. And if you're wondering why I look like this, well, it's just because I really didn't feel like reviewing this movie in my current state, so I possessed this dude wearing this fucking tie-dye shirt. And what the fuck is up with these gloves? Well, they're actually more fitting than my own hands. And I have decided to re-review this movie, which was the first Dr. Wolfula video that I ever watched in my entire life, was his review of this movie. Hello, Jacksonites, and shout out to Dr. Wolfula. Unintentional, it was totally last minute, right before I started this video, I shit you not. Yes, indeed, the first Dr. Wolfula video that I ever saw was his review of King Kong Lives, which is today's review. And because this movie is a total piece of shit, I could not review it by myself. And that is why I am reviewing it with, once again, let's welcome Jack Buchanan from BigJackFilms. Say hi, Jackie boy.
Hey guys, how you doing? This movie is not that bad. I've seen worse. I've sat through the Asylum Kong movies. They're fucking terrible. Get out while you have the chance. This movie is fucking the original Kong compared to the shit from that.
So yes, indeedy, folks, I am getting around to reviewing. Oop, we have one viewer. I'm finally getting around to reviewing the sequel that nobody seems to really give a shit about, to a remake that nobody really seems to give a shit about. You don't count. That is King Kong Lives from 1986, once again directed by John Gullerman. So King Kong Lives, I admit I know pretty much nothing about it production-wise. So you want to take over, Jack?
Yes. So, Dino De Laurentiis immediately after the release of the first film said he wanted to do a sequel, and he'd be like, "We're going to make a King Kong 2." You know, he's like, and he's saying, "Oh, the cast are going to come back and everything." Unfortunately, that was not the case. None of the original cast members came back. None of them wanted to be a part of a sequel because they had moved on. So, it went through basically a 10-year development hell. And the other reason why this movie never got off the ground as quickly as it did was because the merchandising rights and the rights to Kong himself ended up being moved over to Universal due to the whole legal battle back in 1975.
Complete clusterfuck.
And during that time, Universal were just about to fix up and redo their backlot tour. And they were going to have improvement with new attractions and shows, including a new Earthquake ride. The Jaws attraction was getting reamped. And, of course, thanks to the help of Steven Spielberg, they made the King Kong encounter at Universal Studios Hollywood, which was the giant animatronic King Kong that snorted banana breath at people on the tram and got attacked by helicopters, which was released in June of 1986 to launch the new studio tour. In that sense, Dino De Laurentiis still wanted to make a sequel, but he knew the only way to get the rights was to work together with Universal. So Universal pretty much told Dino De Laurentiis, "We'll help you finance the movie if you help promote the ride," which they did. So
Seems
it
fair.
ended up being a two-way street, but unfortunately what happened was that the ride was a success, the movie was not. And Dino De Laurentiis had even planned more sequels, and even a cartoon series that was going to be done by some sort of Canadian company that did like Inspector Gadget or one of those stupid 80s cartoons. But eventually that did not get off the ground because the movie was a financial failure and a critically bashed movie.
Rightfully so, in my opinion. Nah, not really. That kind of gives a negative connotation. So my history with King Kong Lives is, to be 100% honest, this was probably the one King Kong movie that I had absolutely no intention of ever seeing. I had known of its existence only through James Rolfe. I had never even seen a review of it. for a long time, the only exposure to the film was seeing the movie's poster during James Rolfe's Top 10 Giant Movie Monsters video, where he stated, or he's number 2 on his list was King Kong, and it was when he stated a lousy remake followed in 1976, along with an atrocious sequel, King Kong Lives. And that was the only exposure that I had to King Kong Lives for a very long time, until I stumbled across Jack's King Kong reviews, and during his second season, he also reviewed King Kong Lives, and I finally got to see a review of the film.
Technically, it was the first season.
Who the fuck cares? Anyway, moving on. Whatever. So it was during his first season. Either way, it was Jack who kind of reintroduced me to this movie, and I saw his review, and then I got curious, and I researched the film, and honestly, I was a little disappointed because there's really not much history regarding this, or not really history, but there's not really much to say about King Kong Lives, because it really just, it's probably, in my opinion, definitely the most forgettable King Kong film out there, without a complete shadow of a doubt. But so I finally got around to being somewhat interested in seeing King Kong Lives, but I noticed very quickly that was going to be very difficult, because when I finally got around to seeing how much it was on Amazon, it by that point was also out of print, and I just actually recently checked yesterday. I can buy a new free shipping copy of King Kong Lives on DVD for $59.
God damn! I went to a fucking thrift store and I found it for $1.
Gavin Fitzgerald is here. Hi, Gavin. Okay.
Oh, Gavin, I think I know him. He was in the short film, wasn't he? I'm not too sure.
Gavin Fitzgerald, were you in the prologue short film? If so, let us know in the comments. Anyway, so I looked at that price and I said, no, I'm not spending that much for just one movie. Yeah, it is him from the short film.
Gavin.
So anyway, I said, no, I'm not paying that. Even though for, let's see, where is it? Guyver 2, I spent $49 on it because it's also out of print. So maybe it's a little hypocritical of me, but at the time I said no. At the moment, now I say no. So, it wasn't until I decided to do this series when I finally got around to watching King Kong Lives for the first time. So wonderfully provided by our dear friend Jackie Boy. I was able to sit down and watch the film in its entirety. Well, almost in its entirety. I did admittedly skip around a couple scenes, but to be perfectly honest,
I wanted to point out my exposure to the film. I was introduced to it at a very young age. This was actually one of the first things King Kong related I ever saw. Because when I was about 5 years old, my uncles had brought in 4 movies for us to watch in a marathon. We watched Jaws 1 and 2 back to back, and literally those movies scared the shit out of me. And then we watched the original King Kong, which I was fascinated by. I had fun with it. And then we watched King Kong Lives. Now, when I watched Kong Lives, I was young and stupid. I'm 5 years old. I know nothing about the continuity of movies. So I just figured, hey, it's a sequel in color. Cool. And to be honest, I have very fond memories of this movie, and I think mostly the reason I enjoy this movie is due to a nostalgic reason, because I grew up with it so early as a kid, and I did thoroughly enjoy it growing up. But, I mean, at the same time, yeah, I can see why people call it a piece of ape shit, but
it's not as ape shitty as Ape.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like this makes Ape look like, I don't know, an asylum film. I don't know.
May as well be.
Yeah, but King Kong Lives was just, for me, it's more of a nostalgic reason why I like it. But again, as a film, yeah, it's not that good, but I do have fun with it.
My initial feelings for King Kong Lives is it's not a great sequel. It kind of like with Son of Kong, it's a massive retcon for the first film. Though honestly, I don't feel it's as drastic as the first film, or not the first, but as the original Son of Kong. Um, I don't like the ending for Kong 76, but I do agree that this movie does sort of ruin it. But here's the thing, I don't like that ending, so admittedly, I just kind of have mixed feelings for this movie being a retcon. There's a small part of me that likes the fact that it is, but I also do agree it is kind of lazy. Um, that movie was pretty. That movie it was a pretty open and shut type film. It really didn't need a sequel, in my opinion, unless they were gonna do a remake of Son of Kong, which I would have much rather have seen.
And speaking of which, what's the plot of this film?
Okay, to be perfectly honest, I am going to very quickly breeze through the plot because admittedly, even though this movie is an hour and 40 minutes long, you can breeze through this movie's plot in just 2 sentences.
It's actually as long as the original film.
Yep, I just now noticed that. It is. Anyway, so after being shot down from the World Trade Center, Kong is kept alive in a coma for about 10 years at an Atlanta institute under the care of Dr. Amy Franklin, who is a heart surgeon played by the beautiful Linda Hamilton. In order to... Yes, the same Linda Hamilton from Terminator. I'll get to her shortly. So in order to save Kong's life, Dr. Franklin must perform a heart transplant on Kong to replace his organic heart with a giant Kong-sized artificial heart, which is computer monitored, so they can keep an eye on his heart progress.
By Apple, it's called the new iHeart. And for his chest, they give him something called blue tits.
Wow. But anyway, they can't do this heart surgery because Kong has lost so much blood that he needs a transfusion. But there's no other species of either ape or animal whose blood type matches Kong's, except for maybe possibly another giant ape. Now, it only just makes you wonder, are there any other giant apes? Oh, wait, yeah. So we cut to Hank Mitchell, who travels to Borneo. A little later in the film, he theorizes that Borneo and Kong's Island were part of the same landmass and just split apart over millions of years, which admittedly it does make sense, sort of.
You also, just very quickly, notice in this film that it's the movie, the island that Kong's from is not called Skull Island in either film. It's instead
it's just Kong's Island.
In 76 it's called the Beach of the Skull, but in Lives it's called Kong's Island.
Just simply Kong's Island, yeah. So anyway, and when he gets to Borneo, he ends up capturing a giant female gorilla, slightly smaller than Kong. Isn't Kong like 50 feet tall in the 76 film?
Yes, he is. This one's probably around 40, maybe 45.
Yeah, that's how much I'd be willing. Huh?
The movie calls her Lady Kong.
Lady Kong,
Why
yes.
Not Queen Kong? Why not Queen Kong?
Because Queen Kong already existed.
That was the name of a British knockoff that Dino Rentes and Paramount Universal had sued to keep away from the state sides because it was infringing.
For the record, Jacksonites, I will not be reviewing Queen Kong. Not because I hate it, because I just don't want to.
That's my job.
Anyway, so they capture Lady Kong and then bring her back to the Institute for Kong's operation. The blood transfusion and the heart transplant are a success, but shortly after, Kong regains strength and he escapes his chains and runs away with Lady Kong bridal style.
No, it looks more like something out of like the fucking the Bodyguard. You just want him to say, "And I will always love you."
Now, first off, I have to call bullshit on one thing regarding this. Kong would not have been able to remotely even move because him being in a coma for 10 years, his muscles would have degraded so bad he hardly would have been able to lift his arm up maybe even 2 feet. But whatever,
Makes sense. He's
movie
lost a
logic.
lot of blood, so.
Well, not just that, his muscles would have atrophied so much that he would have been barely able to move because he was in a coma for 10 years. But whatever.
I love how you're bringing up scientific logic in how flawed this movie is now. I don't think that's ever been done before in a review of this movie.
I'm breaking new review grounds here. So anyway, Kong escapes with Lady Kong into the woods of the surrounding area.
North Carolina.
Gavin Fitzgerald asks, "Whatever happened to the giant King Kong robot?" It fell to its doom off of Tokyo Tower and exploded and went kaboomy. So anyway,
Wrong Kong robot, I think.
Oh, the Kong robot from '76. I think it just.
I can explain that. Fitzgerald. The robot Kong was eventually sent to a bunch of theme parks, and then eventually was scrapped in a junk pile for all eternity.
That's kind of what I figured.
The styrofoam Kong at the end with the World Trade Center, along with a lot of the animatronic hands and stuff, were sent back to Italy with Carlo Rambaldi. The styrofoam Kong ended up in an Italian theme park until the late 90s, and at that point, nobody knew what happened to it. As for the animatronic hand that was used to pick up Jessica Lange, that still exists. It was originally part of a museum that Rambaldi opened in Italy, but when that museum closed in the late 90s, the hand was basically put into storage, and recently it was discovered, and the Rambaldi estate is trying to get it restored.
Anyway, moving on. So, Archie Nevitt, an insane lieutenant colonel in the army, is called in with his group of troops to hunt down and, for some reason, kill King Kong and Lady Kong. Lady Kong is captured alive by the troops and imprisoned, whereas King Kong falls from a cliff during an army attack and he is presumed dead, which you may think he would because he's going down rapids, smashes his head into a rock, and the next scene after, you see a shit ton of blood just turning the entire river just red. Like, is there a giant Jaws down there too fighting King Kong?
Well, no, that's an ape. That's an ape.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was referring to. Anyway, however, Franklin and Mitchell soon discover that Kong's heart, his artificial heart, is beginning to give out. So they attempt a jailbreak of Lady Kong. However, and due to Lady Kong acting strangely over the last, because there is a big time skip that's a little jarring after Kong jumps over the bridge and he goes all bloody apes on the river. I think it's like 4 or 5 months pass by, and Lady Kong has been.
And not to mention, when Linda Hamilton decides to visit Lady Kong, and they don't know what's wrong with Lady Kong, she's like, Kong's alive. It's like, no, he's not. I can feel it. It's like, do you have the force now? Exactly. It's like, is Kong just going, Amy, hear me, Amy? You know, you just want to add that. I don't understand that.
But while attempting a jailbreak, they discover that Lady Kong is actually pregnant with Kong's offspring, and it is thanks to Kong, since he has survived his fall and is heading towards his mate's cries. He breaks his mate out, and after being attacked by the military, Kong fights back and kills Lieutenant Nevitt, and dies slowly near a military base on a farm, where Lady Kong gives birth to Black Kiko. So Bleeko.
Well, it's technically Prince Kong.
Okay, I guess you could say Prince Kong. So gives birth to Prince Kong. Kong reaches out to touch his son just before he dies. And once he does, Lady Kong and her son are returned to Borneo, since Hank Mitchell had purchased 10,000 acres of land in Borneo. So she and her son are taken to that piece of land where they can peacefully live their lives in the jungle, leading into a sequel that never was made. And honestly, I would have
cartoon series.
I would have actually really liked to see a third film in this series, to be perfectly honest. Like maybe there's another male giant gorilla out there, and he becomes the next Kong, and he becomes the adopted father of Prince Kong. It's a little dumb, but hey.
Step King Kong.
Step Kong. So how about this plot? Well, honestly, it does not live up to the plot of the first 76 film. It just kind of feels like this plot was thought up of in an afternoon, to be perfectly honest. It's very standard distant sequel type formula bullshit. But I can't say it's bad, but I definitely do say, still, this is probably the most forgettable King Kong film I've ever seen in my life. And I'm amazed I was able to remember as much about it as I do, because this movie is so forgettable. Even though I just read a Wikipedia plot, I still do remember a lot of stuff from this. So very, very honestly, you can probably tell, I don't have much to say about this movie. Maybe Jack has more to say, but I don't have much to say about this film. So let's get into the pros and cons of King Kong Lives, shall we? First off, Linda Hamilton and Brian Kerwin, the man who plays Hank Mitchell, they're probably the best thing about this movie, to be perfectly honest. The two lead characters are fantastic. And the best character in this movie, without a doubt, is Linda Hamilton's character. Without a complete shadow of a doubt. She is acting and giving the performance of a fucking lifetime, in my opinion.
And it's funny you mentioned that, too, because the thing is with Linda Hamilton, she had just got off the Terminator film, which was a smash hit at the box office. So immediately, I think Dino De Laurentiis was like, put her in my Kong movie, because she was amazing potential. The other thing is, too, is that I believe right after this film, she went on to do the Beauty and the Beast television series. So there you go. She's got two beasts to work with. Yeah, she ended up being in the Beauty and the Beast live-action television series in the 80s. So, interesting enough, for those who don't know, I've actually met Linda Hamilton at a local con, and she was super sweet and super nice. And while most were asking her about the Terminator franchise, I was more interested in her work on King Kong Lives.
1987, yeah.
What?
1987, Beauty and the Beast live-action series.
And she had told me, Linda Hamilton, that she, even though she knew what she signed up for, even though she knew, looking at the script, it wasn't that good, she said the money was good, and that even then it was a fun time, and she even said hanging out with Brian Kerwin was actually, he was a really fun guy to hang out with. And
wasn't Linda Hamilton's character killed off in the Beauty and the Beast series?
I have no idea. I never watched the show. But funny enough, she told me after talking with her, she said, she was surprised that I was the only one, let alone a young kid, who actually enjoyed that piece of crap. So, I mean, because I gotta give credit where credit's due. She was the best thing about that movie. And I mean, even Brian Kerwin, just being a complete Indiana Jones type, he's a fun, charming, charismatic character. And the one thing I did enjoy was, well, he has a relationship with Linda Hamilton in the film, and it's good chemistry. The best chemistry, honestly, came from him and Lady Kong. I actually thought they That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But it was just funny how, like, immediately he's not like, oh, save me, a giant scary monster. No, he actually, like, immediately is like, wow, that is a beautiful animal. I want to make sure this thing's okay. And they form this sort of bond in the middle, during the film, and it's quite good. I mean, even Kong, even at the end of the film when Kong's rescuing Lady Kong from the military base, and Lady Kong picks up Brian Kerwin, Kong looks at him like, who the fuck is this guy, honey? How long has this been going on? Right? So, but even then, it's like, even Kong's not snatching Brian Kerwin out of Lady Kong's hand and squishing him because, hey, this is my woman. It's like, no, I think he's just kind of like, I can imagine there's some deleted scene where they're having a conversation, and it's like, even though they're just growling and stuff, it's like, Brian Kerwin's trying to talk with Kong. He's like, oh, so you enjoying my girlfriend? It's cool, you can have her. She's not really my type. So, I mean, I thought the chemistry...
I got the Terminator chick here.
Were really well done. What was that?
I got the Terminator chick here.
I'm gonna be
her next Kyle Reese.
Hey Kong, you might be saving your species, but I'm saving the future. Ha! Right, what are your other pros about this film?
So, well, I didn't exactly finish my first two pros. Well, but anyway, so Linda Hamilton's character in this is the best character in this movie, without a doubt. Probably my favorite scene between the two. Well, first off, she and Brian Kerwin's character, they almost have instantaneous chemistry in the film, if you ask me. But probably my favorite scene, aside from when they first start fucking, and honestly, that was an uncomfortable scene to watch.
We're primates
now. Was when they were driving up to the hills, and she drove alongside his car. She was saying, "Pull over, damn it!" So they do, and he gets out of his car and he says, "Where the hell do you think you're going? Same place where you are. Not up in them hills. The military has them serviced off. How you gonna get up there, huh? In your Rent-A-Wreck. Get in." And you can see that on Brian's face, he's like, fuck, she's right. Why the hell did I get this? So he goes back to his car, and again, his facial expression says, you know what? Fuck it. So he grabs his bag and he tosses it, because he has like this rentable 80s Corvette car, and she has like an all-terrain 4-wheel drive truck. So he grabs his bag, tosses it in the back, and he gets into her truck, and away they go. Their chemistry is really, really fun to watch in this movie. I'm really not gonna lie. And Brian Kerwin's character, he's not the standard, like, stereotypical no nonsense, know-it-all badass. I mean, he kind of is a badass, but he's kind of a fun badass. He's not not a no-nonsense... hang on, let me readjust my camera. That's better. He's not a no-nonsense, all-serious asshole. He's a smartass. He's a fun smartass. He's smart. He knows how to think on his feet. And he has a sense of humor to him as well. And he also has a bit of a personality. He's really fun to watch, and he's got some really funny lines. Like the aforementioned, "That's a big lady we got here, and you will not interrupt a lady," or some shit like that. Like when the...
Just take it easy! You are dealing with a lady!
Yeah, that was it. Yes, thank you. When a whole bunch of reporters had started to swarm the plane where Lady Kong was being held, and all the bright lights and the flashes were freaking her out, so he went to the back and said, "Yo, dudes, back the fuck up. You're scaring her."
And that's another thing I like too, is that he had actual concern for Lady Kong. Like, he actually really cared about her.
Yep. Pro number 3 is that, in general, I think the special effects are pretty good, though there are a lot more downsides to them, as opposed to the 76 version. But the good things is the suits are well constructed for Kong and Lady Kong for the most part. I'll get to my one gripe when I get to the Kong. Actually, no. Kind of 3,
well,
but...
I wanted to bring up, too, with the ape suits, is that Unfortunately, in this film, Rick Baker was unavailable because he was doing other major films like, what was that movie, Harry and the Hendersons, as well
That's a
as
funny
Gorillas in the
show.
Mist with Sigourney Weaver. So the reins went fully to Carlo Rambaldi this time around, and you can tell that Rambaldi was trying to still keep the same design as it was in '76, but at the same time, you can see kind of the influences he had that he wanted back in '76.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And for the most part, the designs do look very similar, but Kong's face is a lot different. He looks more like an orangutan, to be perfectly honest. He has a much larger nose. He has much larger eyebrows, like a bigger forehead. Um, he has kind of stubbier arms too. Like it's kind of hard to describe, but his pectoral muscles are huge, and his arms are a little stubby. But there's also some moments where you can tell that he has limb extensions. I'll get to that when I get to the cons, but
He
and
almost
also
looks like an action figure.
yes, there you go. That's a good way to put it. And the suit for Lady Kong, it looks okay, but my two issues with it is aside from the ape titties, it doesn't look very feminine. If that makes any
Well, that could be
sense.
also because Lady Kong was played by George Yoshimani, who is a dude,
Yes, Lady Kong was played by a dude,
a Japanese dude, no less.
a Japanese dude. Kind of like how Baragon was played by a female in GMK.
Nutty the fuck? What?
I'm serious. Baragon was played Baragon was played by a chick in GMK, just like Gauss was also played by a chick in Gamma Guardian of the Universe.
Well, then why couldn't they get a chick to play Lady Kong? What the fuck?
Maybe because they couldn't find a burly enough chick to play Lady Kong.
Oh man.
So they went with a Japanese dude. A lot of Asian guys are notorious for being skinny dudes. Whatever. But anyway, the suit for Lady Kong, it looks okay, I guess. It certainly looks like a giant gorilla, but it doesn't look very feminine, if you ask me. Again, aside from the ape titties. But overall, the suits are still well constructed. And you don't see the zippers or any of the seams where the skin may show up. You don't see any of those at all. Like they do, I definitely do buy them as being giant gorillas. The miniature sets are well made. They're well detailed. They actually look like, again, they look like giant creatures that were filmed in their natural habitat. A lot of the composite shots are a lot better than the first film, though there's also again some bad ones. Especially there's one scene where the military was gassing Lady Kong, and it's a very obvious, almost rotoscoped composite shot. Oh my god, just looked terrible. But
Now, give credit too. They did use life-size stuff as well, like they did in '76. The mechanical hands were
oh yeah,
essentially rebuilt from scratch, but instead of building a life-size car robot that cost them millions of dollars in the previous film, they instead used the same technique that they did for the World Trade Center con by building the entire thing out of fiberglass and styrofoam, and basically having it for shots like for the actors to interact with in Kong's surgery lab, as well as the capture of Lady Kong and the stuff happening in the barn at the end of the film.
yeah, which all look great too. Um, but overall, I don't have much to say about the effects, but the effects are good. And also, the battle scenes between Kong and the military, they are kind of fun. Though again, they're probably the weakest. But in some ways, they're also better than what we had in Kong 76 because, admittedly, the ones at Kong 76 were extremely one-sided. And while granted, Kong gets his ass kicked and does die, which granted, one of my cons for this movie is not the fact that Kong dies. I don't like the fact that he dies. I still think it's a big cop-out, but it's not a problem. At least Kong goes down fighting. And boy, does he fight his ass off.
Oh yeah, it's fucking epic, and another plus for the film, I think, is John Scott's incredibly underrated score. In my opinion, this is one of the best Kong scores, in my opinion. You may say so, but I mean, like, It's almost like a mix of 76 and 33 kind of put together, and it goes for the straight up action beats of the film. And yeah, Kong's final battle with the military is beyond epic and bloody as hell.
Yeah, one little side note. I do definitely maybe tied with Skull Island, but I definitely think this might be the goriest Kong film.
Well, I mean, aside from the open heart surgery where you see the heart come out like a fucking crane game, and how bloody that was, but on top of that, just Kong is taking those rednecks and he's snapping them in half and eating them, and and then there's the battle at the end where he's just like literally he's soaked in blood. He is completely soaked. And
Yep.
It's really kind of disturbing to watch, too. It's pretty fucked up.
Yep. So let's get to the cons of King Kong Lives. Oh, there's a lot of them. Aside from Linda Hamilton and Brian Kerwin, all of the rest of the human characters suck. Suck so fucking much.
Yeah, you know what? They're mostly there for comedic timing. One thing I do have a gripe with this film is that there's a lot of puns in this film.
Dumb
almost
puns.
Almost like Batman and Robin quality puns. And
they're apes gone ape shit.
Some of the jokes do work. Others do not. Like, I mean, there's some humor jokes, like visual jokes. I'm like, okay,
this one's stupid. This one's stupid. The other monkey's going ape shit.
Yeah, there's also things like, if Kong's heart isn't right, this makeup kit'll fix it. And there's shit like, I'm trying to think, like, oh, you don't need me, you've got Indiana Jones. Or like fucking,
that's probably the worst.
Like Lady Kong, it's like, what is it, was at the beginning where they transfer Lady Kong in, it's like, how did you get the ape out of the jungle? I left a trail of bananas. Are you going to breed her? You mean personally? That's funny.
Not at all.
The puns are terrible.
But yeah, the supporting characters really do suck. They're just there to fill in blank roles and just be there to be as one-dimensional as possible. Con number 2 is that the villain in this movie is utter shit. No okay, yeah, he's like the villain from Kong King of the Apes. No motivation as to why he hates the giant apes. No motivation as to why he wants to kill them. No motivation as to why he acts the way he is. He's just a standard, stereotypical evil general who's an asshole.
You know what? I mean, he's like the love child of that villain from Kong King of the Apes, Colonel Packard, and the general from Avatar.
You just like the shit on Avatar, don't you?
No, I don't like the shit on Avatar. I'm just saying, like, the movie is visually stunning. I love that film. But the plot is so cliche and contrived. It's the same. It's Dances with Smurfs. It's Dances with Smurfs. Anyway, so yeah, the characters do not work in this film. In some regards, they're just there to die, or they're just there to crack a joke. I will admit, too, some of the effects don't look the best, in my opinion. Like, there's some shots in this that are very dodgy. My biggest complaint is, like, the continuity in terms of the size comparison of the Kongs, because sometimes they're 50 feet, and other times they're the size of, like, a Godzilla. Like, I mean, especially in Kong's final battle, like, it ranges for where he's the exact size, but when he's picking up tanks, it looks like he's almost 100 feet tall, and he's like tossing the tanks like they're little toys. And especially the birth of Prince Kong is very, very weird in terms of how it works, because the whole time Lady Kong is pregnant, her stomach is really sticking out, so you're thinking, wow, this is going to be a big boy, isn't it? But when he comes out, he's the size compared to the Kongs to a fucking eraser.
Yeah, he's about the size of a fully grown normal gorilla.
Yeah, it's like, so all that pushing, all that labor was just to go, the size of fucking Kiko in Son of Kong, where he's maybe about 10 feet or something.
Yeah, probably, but whatever. So yeah, the supporting characters suck. The villain is crap. My main two complaints with the special effects is the inconsistent limb sizes, as I quote it in my cons. It kind of has King Kong versus Godzilla syndrome, where there's some shots where you can tell that the suit actor has his hands inside the actual suit of Kong, and he can move Kong's hands about. But there's also some other scenes, mostly when Kong is walking by on all fours, and you can tell that he has limb extensions and the hands don't really move. It's like from King Kong Escapes and King Kong vs. Godzilla, and it is very jarring whenever you see that. And also, that's another thing I don't really like, is that they have Kong walk on all fours a lot in this film, whereas in the first movie, Kong was always walking bipedal, and I preferred that, honestly. Now, he does walk bipedal in this film as well, but it's just the scenes when they try to have him walk on all fours like an actual gorilla, it just doesn't look right. It really does not look right. I think the score for this movie, you may think it's good, but I actually think it's very repetitive. There's a lot of tracks in this movie that just repeat over and over and over again, and it gets very, very annoying to listen to after a little bit.
It's probably just the main theme to Kong this time around. It's, the do-do-do-do.
Yes. It gets very old very quickly.
That makes sense.
The second act of this movie is extremely slow, and not in the good way, unfortunately. After Kong seemingly falls to his death, and once he frees Lady Kong, the movie significantly slows down, and not in a good way.
I actually kind of agree with that. I was even going to say, after Kong and Lady Kong escape their facilities, that is where, honestly, I felt like it started to lose me a little bit. Because, like, the whole, from the prologue to the open heart surgery, and
that's
where
stellar.
Kong rescues Lady Kong, that's all great.
Stellar.
And I was really having a ball with it. But once they start going into the mountains of North Carolina, it does slow down a bit. And the pacing does go off somewhat.
I don't think it goes off at that point. I do think that the pacing goes off when they've recaptured Lady Kong, and when Kong falls to his death. I feel like that's when it lost me, but it picked itself back up in the third act when Lady Kong is rescued by Kong. The Kong roars in this movie are fucking atrocious. Gone is the dinosaur really roar that they used from 76, which I would have so preferred if they used. Well, this time around, I
wanted to say, funny enough, in the trailers for this movie,
they used the dinosaur roar.
Original Kong 76 roar, and then for some reason they don't use it after. They don't use it again.
Kong in this film sounds like just... it's kind of hard to describe.
It just sounds like a guy came in and dubbed it over in a span of a half hour. They sound like Chewbacca if he had cancer.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely...
yeah. And
he sounds like he's groaning for most of the film. He sounds like he's moaning and groaning for most of the film, honestly.
Well, he just woke up from open heart surgery, I think.
That made sense.
Groany too.
But still, even when he's battling the military, he's still moaning and groaning.
Well, yeah, again, it's Chewbacca with cancer. It's called Lumpy.
Yes. And also the last con of this film is, like he said, a lot of the jokes in this movie they're just bad. Poorly delivered, poorly executed. They wouldn't even make a 5-year-old laugh, especially the I left the trail of bananas joke.
The one joke that kind of is 50-50, at some points I laugh, but then other points I don't, is when Kong crushes that Lamborghini and the kid's like, "Oh no! My dad's gonna kill me!" And it's so poorly acted, right? the other one that I'm just like, why is that there? Is just the scene where Kong's on a fucking golf course and a golf ball hits him in the face. How is that funny?
How is that funny? Exactly.
Now, no surprise, this movie was critically bashed and was a financial failure at the box office. Mostly due to the fact that, again, it was a bad movie, but also the fact that it was poorly marketed. Honestly, at this point, the ride had just opened, and Kong's popularity was starting to come back, but in the movies, no one gave a shit. Nobody gave a fuck about this movie.
This movie had a budget of $18 million, and it made just $4.7 million in its box office. Ooh,
that's a flop.
That's a massive flop.
Thankfully, the movie was much more well received, believe it or not, in Japan.
Yeah.
The movie did much better in Japan because the Japanese love their giant monster movies, and even Konami decided to give some licensing to the film and launched a few Famicom titles and an MSX game. And on top of that, it's still well received in Japan. It got Laserdisc releases. It got tons of video. It was a huge successful video release when it came out on VHS and Laserdisc. But yeah, I mean, in America, it's just been very forgotten about. It's been completely shoved under the rug. And I think only if it wasn't for the advent of the internet, people wouldn't be talking about it.
Well, apparently, the film is listed in Golden Raspberry Award founder John Wilson's book, The Official Razzie Movie Guide, as one of the 100 most enjoyably bad movies ever made.
So, it's the Room of King Kong movies.
So it certainly maybe does have a legacy, it's just not a good one.
The only thing I think it really did, the only thing I could really say about it, it's a nice add-on to the new ride that came out at the time. And I mean, aside from that, after this, there was no King Kong movies for close to 20 years, although there were several attempts in the 90s to remake it once again, with the likes of Steven Spielberg, Robert Zemeckis, John Landis, and Peter Jackson, but due to just very cold feet because no studio wanted to push the idea, and the fact that things like Roland Emmerich's Godzilla really tainted the giant monster movie genre. Even Disney really got cold feet when releasing Mighty Joe Young, the remake, and that's why that movie flopped.
God, that's an underrated film.
Nobody was interested in giant monster movies, and it wasn't until Peter Jackson's remake that people thought, hey, let's make giant monster movies again. Because after that, we got Cloverfield, we got Pacific Rim, we got 2014's Godzilla, and because of that, we now have the legendary Monsterverse that we have today.
So with all that said about King Kong Lives, what is your final rating for King Kong Lives, Jack?
I can't remember when I rated it back when I first reviewed
6 out of 10.
I think I gave it a 7?
6.
I think, in some instances, I do agree it's a bad movie. It's like the Batman and Robin of Kong movies. It's an unnecessary sequel, but as a standalone film, if it was just kind of its own thing, it's not half bad. I think I mostly enjoy it for nostalgic reasons because it was a Kong movie I grew up with as a child. And, I mean, there is some positive outlooks to this film, but as a sequel to 76, it fucking fails. And I know I gave it originally a 6 out of 10, but I think I'm going to bump it to about a 6.5 to a 7 because given the amount of bad Kong movies I've had to sit through in my almost 50 episodes of review of this show, it's definitely not the worst. It's definitely not the worst one I've seen. And I still find it enjoyable. Hell, I'll actually stick it on once in a while if I'm bored and I got nothing else to do. So I'll bump it to about a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, my thoughts on the film, final thoughts. It's far from one of the worst movies ever made. Believe me, I've seen worse. I'm sure Jack has as well. It's not one of the worst movies. Though I will admit, it probably is one of the worst Kong films. It's not that it's badly made. It's just, it's uninspired. It's unnecessary, like Jack said, and it's just it's as a sequel to 76, it really does not live up to it. I would have much rather if they just remade Son of Kong, but no, they decided to do this. I'm gonna rate it. I am going to rate it a 6 out of 10. In the general scope of Kong films, Kong Skull Island being my favorite, my least favorite being, admittedly, 33. This is right above Son of Kong for me.
Okay. That's reasonable.
Well, for me, it goes 33, Son of Kong, King Kong vs. Godzilla, King Kong Lives, 76, 05, 2017.
What about wait, did you include Kong vs. Godzilla and King Kong Escapes?
Oh, King Kong Escapes. King Kong Escapes is right above Kong vs. Godzilla.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, 6 out of 10. It's just okay. I mean, if you're a diehard King Kong fan, I guess you could pick this up. Though if you're willing to spend $59 to buy a single movie, you either have more money to spend than me, or you're a much bigger Kong fan than me, or both.
Now here's an interesting question, Nick, and I'm just saying this as a joke. I know probably next up you're going to be reviewing the Peter Jackson King Kong.
That's going to be a tough review, honestly.
Yeah, but what about the Mighty Kong?
I've not seen it. Don't plan on reviewing it.
Yeah, don't bother. It's a complete animated waste of piece of shit. If you want a good review of that, check out Huey Two-More's review on his channel.
Mm.
Yeah, Huey Two-More is good reviewer.
Alrighty, so I'm gonna wrap this up here. This review actually went on a little longer than I thought it would. So, post your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video with your friends. Jack, you got anything to pimp out?
Yeah, just subscribe to my channel. It's BigJackFilms. We just started our 85 years of Kong celebration. We've got new King Kong reviews coming out every Friday. We got behind-the-scenes videos from our remake coming out every Monday, as well as some other videos sprinkled in between. And even tonight at midnight, we are going to be premiering the audio commentary for the 1933 film with myself and Nick Jackson over here. Doing a full audio commentary on the original 1933 classic. And on top of that, yeah, I just got some more videos to plan, and I'm really glad I was able to come back and kind of re-review King Kong Lives, because I still think it's a fun movie. It's not a great movie, but it's a fun popcorn movie.
Agreed. So, yes, look forward to more reviews of my King Kong series. I just have 2 left. Quick short announcement, I have decided to not review Jack's remake. Not because, actually, honestly, part of it is because I just feel like I would have a really hard time reviewing it. I just feel like I would have a hard time reviewing it, so I've decided to drop it. I'll maybe give it a micro review and give some trivia about it and explain some things that go into it. Maybe I'll just have you join me for that maybe quick 15-minute little video. But so yes, look forward to more King Kong reviews. I just have 2 left: King Kong 05 and Kong Skull Island. Oh boy, I can't wait for Kong Skull Island. Look forward to those. And go out and capture some fucking female giant gorillas. You fucking weirdo.